I'm gonna build you a house. Right here. Our house. I want to take Mildred up to D.C. to get married.
Are you sure about that?
By the power vested in me by the District of Columbia, I now pronounce you husband and wife.
So this is such an amazing story, such an amazing movie. I've been telling everybody this is a story that I was personally unfamiliar with. I'm just wondering if this is something that you knew about. I mean, because it's not something that was widely thrown out.
No, I mean, most people I know haven't heard of this couple. I mean, and I get it because they haven't been at the forefront of conversations until now. And I think mainly because they were quite reserved and shy as a couple, but also because, you know, we've been talking about this a lot, is that it was 9 years of sort of incremental struggle, and there wasn't any big sort of moment. And so I think that, you know, people kind of respond to the big things, you know. And I think that this is one of many narratives and stories that were quiet. And I think that hopefully now people will realize that even though they were quiet, that they were no less relevant, no less extraordinary, and no less fascinating.
In here?
Richard!
What you doing in bed with that woman?
I'm his wife.
That's no good here.
Richard Perry Loving being a white person and Mildred Jeter being a colored person did unlawfully cohabitate as man and wife.
Richard?
That ain't right!
I believe this is a battle that could go all the way to the Supreme Court.
I mean, we ain't hurting anybody.
The state of Virginia will argue that it is unfair to bring children of mixed race into the world.
Tell that woman to come over here.
And was it kind of nerve-wracking playing somebody that's real, because you want to do them justice?
Oh no, completely.
Yeah.
And it's not the first time I've played someone real, but and I think that the thing is that it is nerve-wracking and there's a responsibility. But you know what your responsibility is? Your responsibility is not to be frightened. Your responsibility is not to be paralyzed by fear. Your responsibility is to do the best possible job you can do. And in order to do that, you have to take your bag of fear and you've got to go, I'm just checking this in until I'm finished, thank you. And I'll come back for that maybe. But for the moment, I've got to just, you know, concentration.
So now is the fear in where you're just waiting?
Terrified.
Just waiting
Constantly
to see?
terrified.
Did you actually meet the family, and did they actually see the film?
So, Peggy Loving, the daughter of Richard and Mildred, is the only one left alive. The only one. Donald and Sydney, her brothers, passed sadly. And it was extraordinary meeting her, because I'd spent 2 years from when I auditioned to when we filmed. And I didn't know I'd got the part immediately at all, because I don't think everything was in place, you know, financing and stuff. But nevertheless, I just fell in love with this family. And so I just watched Nancy Bursky's documentary. She made a documentary called The Loving Story. And I felt I was watching this family for 2 years, and I became sort of intimate with this family. And I'd been watching Peggy as a 5-year-old, and then to meet her in person was extraordinary. And I was sort of gobsmacked and into silence. And when myself and Jeff first met her, I just sat in her presence. I didn't even speak. I just said hello and everything. And because that's what I think that sometimes what's sometimes more important is just to absorb someone. And I wanted her to absorb my energy because I was playing her mother. And I didn't want to ask questions just for the sake of asking questions. I wanted to present myself to her.
I'm gonna raise my family here. I don't care what they do to us.
Get Peggy inside!
I can take care of you.
I know that.
I can take care of you.
some enemies, but we have some friends too.
You realize this case could alter the Constitution of the United States.
You think you'll lose?
We may lose the small battles, but win the big war.
Well, and your characters were actually quite, I was telling Joel, you guys were actually quite funny in a lot of parts for the way you guys reacted to. You guys were very like subtle, very quiet, which actually proved kind of funny on screen. Was that something that you guys were kind of consciously doing?
I think that what we wanted to do, we were so enamored with them as a couple because watching the archival footage, and there were these lovely moments where they'd be sitting next to each other and there would be like this flirty, shy humor between them that was really palpable and just so beautiful. And I think it was important for all of us to capture that because that's what's so enamoring about them, you know. And I think it was important because in so many instances you see people, you know, who like have changed the world, but what you don't see is their intimate lives. And I think that's a lovely thing, isn't it? To see a whole person. And that way I think people it resonates with people a lot more, and people kind of connect with that. The small, the humanity, you know, the little human things. And I think that's really important.
Is there anything you'd like me to say to the Supreme Court Justices of the United States?
Yeah. Tell the judge I love my wife.